Thank you all very much for inviting me here to speak in front of you. So I'm just here to tell you a little bit about myself, and then I figured it'd be best if I just, we throw it out to the group and answer whatever questions I can for you. So, as you said already about me, I'm a former firefighter. I'll always consider myself a firefighter. So, I was a Chicago firefighter for 18 years. Before that, I lived my whole life in Chicago. I'm 55 years old, married, 32 years, have a 29 and a 30-year-old daughter. I had a good family life growing up. I had good parents and a good life. My parents weren't rich by any means. They struggled their whole life pretty much. My father was in and out of jobs, but my somehow or another, my family was always able to provide for us with a good, solid foundation at home. Grew up as a hard worker. Started working when I was 14, as most of the kids that I grew up with did. Basically, in my neighborhood, if you weren't working by the time you were 16, you were considered a loser. Most of the kids were working 13, 14. I'm not talking about paper routes. I mean legitimate jobs at restaurants or bowling alleys or whatever. So I started working at a local restaurant, started as a busboy, worked my way up over there, pretty much did every job they've ever had in the place. Started there when I was 14 and retired when I was 51 from the business. So I like to say retired because quitters quit, and I'm not a quitter. So they were good friends of ours. They got to be good friends. They were like family to us. I also learned a good work ethic from them. And from there, I worked at United Parcel Service for 16 years, and then I worked both at the restaurant and at UPS for a while. And from UPS, I went to the Chicago Fire Department. So I know a little bit about hard work. Feel I have a good work ethic. I think I've proven that in the city council. I think I've proven to stand up for what I think is right, what my constituents want. And I also been a big advocate for public education, as you were mentioning earlier. That's been a real battle with the city. They obviously not only want to privatize education, there's many things they want to privatize. So right now there's a big battle going on with the whole charter school expansion. And that'll be a big meeting on the 22nd, trying to stop that runaway freight train. I think it's already a done deal, but, it is what it is. So on the council, I've made very few friends. I think it's rather obvious. Most of you here probably follow politics, and I'm somewhat on an island. The only friends I really have is my group in the Progressive Caucus. 8 of us, 5 pretty strong. The other 3 are, okay. They disappointed us a little with the budget vote, but that's all right. I mean, they felt, there was a little last-minute deal where the mayor lowered the cigarette tax from 75 cents to 50 cents, and that made 3 of my colleagues sign off on it. But my main reason for not signing off on it was, and it was a single reason, to tell you the truth, and maybe it should or shouldn't be a single reason why you wouldn't vote for a budget, but it was the whole police thing. I have a real problem with paying $93 million a year in overtime, and somebody insulted me by saying this is the right way to do things. This is to pay the overtime, not to hire more police officers. So we asked for more. We came up with a plan. We felt our plan could hire 500 more. They, meaning the city, disputed that, and they said they could only hire 250, and they weren't going to do that. So we did not give our vote to support the budget. As many things that I did not support. As recently as last April, Chicago Magazine wrote a real nice article about yes men in the city council. It was basically about rubber stamps, and they highlighted 5 of us, and I was one of the people for standing up to the mayor on issues and not voting yes on everything. But really, when you think about it, all the things that we've voted on for, to vote against 20 things really isn't that much, but it's ridiculous that some people try to paint you as an obstructionist, but I'm nothing like that. So that's a little bit about myself. I thought I'd throw it out there for questions. I know you guys are probably curious about what goes on in the city council. I'm still learning. I've only been there 2.5 years. What happened to me with the remap. They destroyed me, took 80% of my ward away from me. Not quite as much as Bob Fioretti. They took 100% of his ward. So the community I've lived in for the past 30 years, they took it all away except for my block. Right. And from my furthest spot in my elected ward to my furthest point away in my appointed ward, it's 9.5 miles. So that's that's a pretty big distance in the city of Chicago. So I went from, I don't know how familiar everybody here is with the Northwest Side, but I went from Cumberland and Lawrence to Grand and Pulaski, which I Google mapped it, and it's 9.5 miles. So pretty interesting. Two totally different worlds. So, but I'll be back. I'll be running again. I am undecided on what I want to do. As much as they tried to destroy me, they left me with many of options. And those options are I could run in the 29th Ward, I could run in the 30th Ward, I could run in the 36th, I could run in the 38th, or I could run for mayor. So that's always my threat. I like to throw it in there. But with only one term, I'm not very serious about it. And but with 2 terms, I think I would give it real serious consideration. I don't see anybody on the horizon that's going to be running out there, any serious candidates. Joe Blow just can't get in a race and just say, I'm going to run just because, and, I'm Joe Blow. It's just not going to happen. It has to be somebody substantial out there, somebody that could raise some money, but I don't really see anybody giving anybody any money to run against the current mayor. Quite interesting. They put together a group they called NAC, Neighborhood Advisory Council, to advise CPS about how they feel about opening a charter. And, of course, I feel, and I spoke recently at it, and I'll speak again on the 22nd about what kind of a farce this group was. They have the moderator of this group, this Neighborhood Advisory Council, was or the facilitator, or whatever you want to say, was from Stand for Children, which is a whole big charter organization. So here they have a person that's a champion for charter schools running these meetings, trying to be neutral, which obviously would be impossible. And I would be just as upset if they had CTU running the meeting. I mean, you're supposed to be fair and impartial, and that was by no way, shape, or form a fair and impartial process. And that'll come out. I don't know if it'll mean anything. It came out recently at a hearing at the CPS headquarters, and it'll come out again on the 22nd. Oddly enough, for this hearing, they had a week of sign-up for people to speak from the 13th to the 17th. The speakers were everybody I wanted to speak already all signed up in a matter of a couple hours today. So if anybody here wants to speak, you can't speak because it's all filled already. So, but we'll see what happens. I just keep fighting the fight. I have to say I have been blessed by the media. They really seem to they fell in love with me. I have gotten almost zero bad press. The only bad press I've ever, and I don't even consider it bad press, was when I was fighting the charter they wanted to put in my community, when Tribune editorial board kind of ripped me about it. And they were all wrong on their facts and everything anyways about, I had a process. And my process was, it's a community process. You bring the community on, and I want to hear what they have to say. And I base everything on what my community says. If you're my community and you say we don't want to, we had a pawn shop that wanted to come in our community, and I brought them to the community, and the community didn't want it, and we shot them down, and that's basically how I do things. So I don't do what there's some things that maybe the community wants or doesn't want that I may not think is right, but I'm going to go along with the community. So it's always easy to stand up, and there's many things that go on in city council that really don't have anything to do with my community, but I always try to stand up for the little guys, the less fortunate. The closing of these clinics, these medical clinics for. That's just terrible what they did to some people. Now, does it affect my community? Not really, but it affects other people. It affects the whole city. So that was one of the reasons I stood up for it. I recently, a few months ago, I don't know how much you guys pay attention to the press, but I had a toilet paper drive. So that was I got to tell you, my only intention was to help my schools. I was talking to one of my principals one time. They were just telling me how tough this budget is on them, and they even had to pay for toilet paper. He told me, I go, really? It's just something you assumed CPS would provide you with. A basic necessity, toilet paper. And I got to brainstorm about having a toilet paper drive. So I started with, we have about a 3,000 person email list, and then, of course, Facebook, social media. Now we started putting it out there, and we started collecting toilet paper. I approached my local businesses who were pretty generous, Jewel, Target, CVS, Walgreens. They were all pretty generous. And we had a wrap-up day, and I had a wrap-up barbecue day. And media came out today. Well, first Paul Lisnick had me on CLTV about it. That was on a Tuesday night. Wednesday, Ben Jarofsky wrote a story in the Reader. And then Thursday, Sarah Schulte came out and did a live remote from my office about the toilet paper drive. We probably had about 50 people coming out to the drive. I collected 6,000 rolls of toilet paper between my community. And right after the live remote, Sarah Schulte got a text message from a Becky Carroll from CPS, who is the CPS spokesperson, and accusing her of falling for nothing more than a public relations stunt by Alderman Sposato. I can assure everybody here, and I assure them, meaning the CPS, that my intention was not a publicity stunt. My intention was to honestly and truly help the schools in my community. And if provided them with toilet paper, that's less money. It's more money they could spend on toner or copy paper or whatever else. So if I give you $500 in toilet paper, that's $500 you could spend on copy paper or toner. So worked out real well. Friday morning, phone was ringing off the hook. I got an awesome phone call. It was a gal from Procter & Gamble in New York headquarters. Got a Google alert about toilet paper. Yeah, believe it or not, there's Google alerts about toilet paper. They were so moved about it, they wanted to help out. She called and offered 27 skids of product for me, for my community. Yeah. So it wasn't just toilet paper. She gave paper towels and Kleenexes. So, but 27 skids, two big trucks came and delivered the 27 skids of product for us. So it's all delivered. We delivered it all already. So as a matter of fact, I thought it would be a little easier. The process of just sorting it out, I had 8 schools. I didn't include. It wasn't just public schools. I included my private school. So I couldn't give the school that had 1,400 kids and the school that had 170 kids the same amount. So I divided up I proportioned it up. So I got a group of friends. We split it all up, proportionately. And I thought it would be pretty quick. We could do that and deliver it in one day. Well, it took us about 6 hours to divvy it all up. And then we went to deliver it. It took us about another 5 or 6 hours to deliver it to all the schools. So schools were thrilled. Everybody was thrilled. I got a call from a media outlet in France, Washington Times covered, the Huffington Post. It was just unbelievable. It was a real, like I said, it wasn't my intentions, but boy, did I get the positive publicity about that. So, of course, it was a slap in the face for some people, but that was not my intentions. I can assure you of that. I mean, I just had good intentions to help out my schools, in a desperate situation they're in. With the, I believe between my 6 public schools, I think they had about $2.5 million in cuts. So, $500 in toilet paper for schools, just a drop in a bucket, but it was something. Delivered a little bit of a message. And, just moved on from there. I tried to get my colleagues in the Progressive Caucus to do that, but then nobody thought it was a very good idea. My chief of staff thought I was a knucklehead for wanting to do this. So, but boy, what tell you, people really jumped on and participated in that. So really, that's one of my prouder things I've done in the council. So, well, I can assure you, my 6 schools won't be needing toilet paper, tissue paper. For a while, yeah. So, and that's actually something when kids go to school, they give them a list of things to bring, pens, papers, and they actually, I found out a lot of parents told me toilet paper was on their kids' list. So, yeah. So toilet paper is on it. The kid has to bring a roll of toilet paper to keep it at their desk or whatever. And yeah, I was somewhat shocked at that too. I knew they brought paper towels and Kleenex and hand sanitizer, but toilet paper was just, that was really something. Chicago City Council Progressive Caucus. I wanted independent in there. They didn't want to put an independent. I thought it was important to put independent in there also, but, I was kind of outvoted on it. But, progressive doesn't necessarily mean independent. Progressive means, you want to move things forward that are buried. There's many, many things buried in City Council. I don't know how much you guys pay attention to what goes on at City Hall, but recently there were some things that were buried for a long time. Dick Mell just buried them and kept laughing at us, wouldn't bring them out. And we kept calling him on, and then there was a new rules committee chair, and we tried to get her to bring it out. So, we had a resolution out there that we 30-something people signed on, and then when it came time to bring it out, a TIF surplus, the Progressive Caucus, we wanted a TIF surplus to go towards Chicago Public Schools, and we had 30-something signatures on there, low 30s, and it was going nowhere, and we finally got it out, and we called for a vote on it, and there was only 10 or 12 of us that said, okay, let's take the TIF surplus and give them to the schools. So just something I've learned from being in the city council that I never knew before I got into council was just because somebody signs on to something doesn't necessarily mean they're for it. So it's easy to just sign your name onto something and say you'll be for it, but then when time comes to vote or something, they're hiding under their desk or they're just laying low or they don't want to say anything. So that was quite interesting. Well, I'll just speak for myself because I can't speak for my colleagues, but of course I certainly really need a candidate running for mayor to help me out, because if there's not a candidate for mayor, I believe it'd be easier for them to focus on me or against me. I don't expect the powers that be at City Hall to be supporting me wherever I run. Certainly, if I run against an incumbent, they won't be supporting me. And if I stay in my ward and run, I'm not so sure they would be for me. But either way, Barrios and Suarez are running a candidate against me. So even though they deny it, it's definite that they're backing a candidate against me. So if I stay in the 36 and run, they're backing a candidate against me. If I run in 29, 30, or 38, I'm sure they'll be against me also. So, but it is what it is. It's not the end of the world if I lose. I have a good job. Unfortunately, I have 7 people's lives are, in my hand. I control 7 jobs. 3 part-time jobs, 4 full-time jobs. So if I go down, they all go down. So that's the only thing that concerns me. If I lose, I'm back to being a fireman. So, one of the best jobs out there. So actually, it's one of the reasons I won my election. I didn't think people would vote for me because I'm a fireman, but people knew me as the fireman. Hey, you're that fireman that's right. Hey, I'm voting for you. I'm like, wow, why would somebody vote for somebody because they're a fireman? So I guess they're tired of deputy commissioners and commissioners at City Hall and lawyers and corporation counsel types. But yeah, they like the idea of the average Joe running, and that thing really caught on. So I think even the Sun-Times coined that phrase, saying we back Alderman Sposato, or he's the average Joe, or something. Or though we're not backing him, he's an average Joe. So, but yeah, people really caught on. People really gravitate to just average people like themselves. So I say mainly for progressives, just keep getting your word out there, keep pushing. Back candidates you think will push your agenda.